fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The gallows claws at the bruised purple sky, its iron ribs silhouetted against a waning moon that seems to bleed into the clouds. A bitter tang of charred time and raw fear rides the wind, curling around the narrow alleys of Salem like smoke from a dying fire. Every cobblestone beneath my boots feels slick with the sweat of suspicion, each step echoing the whispered accusations that have become the town's lullaby. I am Thomas Hale, a man forged in the iron of the city guard, my hands accustomed to the weight of steel and the cold certainty of law. My orders are simple: root out the devil's disciples, purge the darkness that has seeped into the veins of this once proud settlement. Yet tonight, as I push open the heavy oak door of the Drunken Raven Tavern, the shadows inside feel different. They do not cower before me. They watch with a hungry curiosity that unsettles the steel-clad resolve I have spent years tempering. The fire crackles in the hearth, throwing dancing silhouettes across rough-hewn tables scarred by countless spilled ales and broken swords. The scent of pine smoke mingles with the sour bite of spilled ale, and the low murmur of patrons creates a tapestry of sound that is both comforting and oppressive. I feel the cold weight of my pistol against my palm, a thin comfort against the heat rising in my chest. My fingers brush the worn leather grip, and for a moment I am reminded of the countless nights I have stood watch over this town, the countless faces I have turned away from the brink of madness. My gaze snags on him, Elias Blackthorn, constable of the apothecary, a half-empty goblet of wine swirling in his hand, fingers long and graceful, the veins on his knuckles like riverbeds. He does not flinch when our eyes meet. Instead, a slow, knowing smile curves his lips, and a shiver trails down my spine as if the air itself has turned colder. His eyes are storm-riven, a storm I have seen reflected in the faces of the condemned, seeing straight through the armor I wear, stripping away every layer of control I have built. "You're staring, Thomas," he says, his voice a low drawl that sends a tremor through my gut, the syllables rolling like distant thunder. "Thomas Hale," I reply, the name a rough rasp against my tongue, each letter a reminder of the badge pinned to my chest. The sound of my own voice feels foreign in this dim room, as if I am speaking through a veil of fog. Elias leans back against the worn wood, the firelight catching silver threading through his dark hair, highlighting the subtle curve of his jaw. "Elias Blackthorn," he purrs, the name tasting like forbidden herbs on my tongue. "Come to arrest me, or simply to indulge your curiosity?" The question hangs in the air, a challenge wrapped in velvet. I have watched him for weeks, drawn by a force I cannot name, cannot resist. The way his hands move when he mixes potions, delicate, precise, as if coaxing life from the earth itself, has haunted my thoughts. The quiet intensity in his gaze, the faint scent of rosemary and something wilder that clings to his skin, each stolen glance, each lingering moment, pulls me deeper into a darkness I know I shouldn't explore. Rain hammers the tavern's shutters, a relentless percussion that mirrors the pounding of my heart. The distant toll of the gallows bell grows louder, each clang a reminder of the lives that hang by a thread. My pulse quickens, the pistol's weight shifting against my palm as his breath brushes my cheek, hot and intoxicating, carrying the faint metallic taste of wine and the earthy perfume of his herbs. He steps closer, his fingers trailing the scar on my wrist, a scar earned in a battle against bandits on the outskirts of town. The touch is electric, a spark that ignites a fire I have tried to smother. "Give me a reason to remember this night, Thomas," he whispers, his voice a blade that cuts through the din of the tavern, the promise in his tone both terrifying and eager. I swallow, feeling the taste of iron on my tongue. The night is far from over, and the promise of his touch is a fire I will not ignore. I lower my pistol, the metal clinking softly against the wooden table, and I feel the weight of my oath loosen, if only for a breath. "What do you want, Elias?" I ask, my voice barely louder than the rain. He lifts his goblet, the wine catching the firelight, turning it a deep ruby. "I want you to see me, not as a witch, not as a criminal, but as a man who feels the same hunger you hide behind your badge. I want you to taste the night, to let the darkness become a part of you, not a foe." His words are a tide pulling at the shore of my resolve. I think of the children huddled in the orphanage, the mothers who pray for safety, the faces of those I have sworn to protect. And yet, beneath that duty, a pulse beats louder, a pulse that matches the rhythm of his own heart, a rhythm that seems to echo the rain's relentless drumming. "If I stay," I say, "the town will think I've turned traitor. If I leave, I will carry this night with me forever." Elias' smile widens, a flash of teeth that catches the firelight. He reaches out, his hand warm against the chill of my skin, and places his palm over my heart. I feel the thrum of his own heartbeat, a steady drum that seems to sync with mine. "Then let us make a pact," he murmurs, his thumb tracing the scar on my wrist. "Not of law, but of desire. Tonight, we are two men standing against a world that would see us broken." The words settle over me like a cloak, heavy yet comforting. I close my eyes, inhaling the scent of pine smoke, wet stone, and the faint, sweet perfume of his herbs. The world narrows to the space between us, the crackle of the fire, the rain's percussion, and the steady thrum of our combined breaths. When I open my eyes, the tavern seems to fade, the patrons becoming silhouettes in a dream. I stand, my pistol now forgotten on the table, and I step toward him. The wooden floorboards creak beneath my boots, each sound a reminder that I am still a man of the guard, still bound by duty, yet also a man who feels a hunger he cannot deny. Elias lifts his goblet, and with a swift motion he empties the wine onto the table, the dark liquid spreading like ink across the wood. He leans in, his lips brushing the shell of my ear, his breath warm against my skin. "Taste," he whispers, "the night, the rain, the fire, let it all become part of you." I close the distance, feeling the heat of his body against mine, the roughness of his beard against my cheek. Our lips meet, a collision of fire and rain, of steel and herb-laden breath. The kiss is fierce, a storm that threatens to tear down the walls I have built around my heart. It is a taste of forbidden fruit, sweet and bitter, intoxicating and terrifying. Time seems to stretch, the rain outside a distant drum, the gallows bell a muted echo. My mind flashes to the faces of the townsfolk, the accusations whispered in the market, the fear that has become a second skin. Yet in this moment, all I hear is the rhythm of his heart, the steady thrum of his chest against mine. When we finally part, our foreheads rest together, breaths mingling. "We cannot stay here," Elias says, his voice hushed, eyes scanning the tavern as if searching for unseen eyes. I glance at the pistol, still lying on the table, its metal glinting in the firelight. I pick it up, feeling the weight of my oath once more, but this time it feels different, less a burden, more a reminder of the choice I have made. "We go outside," I say, my voice steadier than I feel. "The rain will hide us, the night will protect us." We slip through the tavern's back door, the wooden hinges sighing as they open. The night embraces us, a cold, wet blanket that clings to our skin. The streets of Salem are empty, the cobblestones glistening with rain, reflecting the flickering lanterns that line the alleys. Elias pulls my hand into his grip firm yet gentle. "There is a place," he says, "a hidden garden behind the old chapel. It is where I come when the world feels too heavy. Tonight it will be ours." We move through the winding lanes, the rain pattering on our cloaks, the sound of distant bells growing fainter. The chapel looms ahead, its stone walls covered in ivy, the stained glass windows darkened by the storm. I can feel the eyes of the town's watchful eyes behind me, but the rain masks our footsteps. Behind the chapel, a rusted gate creaks open, revealing a garden overgrown with wild flowers and herbs, lavender, sage, and a strange, midnight blue bloom that seems to pulse with its own light. The air here is thick with the scent of earth, rain, and the lingering perfume of Elias herbs. He turns to me, his eyes reflecting the garden's soft glow. "This is where I heal," he says, his voice barely above a whisper, "and where I can be honest without the weight of titles." I step closer, feeling the damp grass beneath my boots, the coolness of the night seeping into my bones. "Then let us be honest," I reply, my voice steady, the pistol now hanging loosely at my side. Elias reaches out, his fingers brushing the scar on my wrist once more, this time not as a reminder of battle, but as a promise of something new. He pulls me into his arms, and we stand there, two men bound by duty, desire, and the storm that rages both outside and within. The rain continues to fall, each drop a percussion on the garden's leaves, each splash a reminder that the world beyond this hidden sanctuary is still turning, still judging. Yet in this moment, the only judgment that matters is the one we place upon ourselves. We kiss again, softer this time, a communion of breath and rain, of fire and water. My hand finds the small of his back, feeling the muscles tense and relax under my grip. The night wraps around us like a cloak, the garden's herbs whispering secrets only the wind can hear. When we finally pull away, our faces are close, eyes locked. "We cannot stay forever," Elias says, his voice tinged with both longing and resolve. "The town will look for us, the gallows will wait for those who stray." I nod, feeling the weight of my badge against my chest, the pistol at my side, the scar on my wrist a reminder of battles fought and those yet to come. Then we will return, I say, but not as the men they think we are. We will be the men who chose love over fear. He smiles, a flash of hope in his storm-riven eyes, and perhaps one day the town will see that love is not a sin, but a strength. We turn back toward the town, the rain still falling, the gallows still looming in the distance, but our steps are lighter, our hearts beating in unison. The night has changed us. The garden has given us a memory that will not be erased by the whispers of Salem. As we approach the tavern's doorway, the fire inside flickers, casting shadows that dance like the ghosts of our past. I slip the pistol back into my holster, feeling the familiar weight settle against my thigh. Elias follows, his cloak dripping, his eyes never leaving mine. Inside, the patrons glance up, their faces a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. I meet their gazes, feeling the weight of their expectations, but also the quiet confidence that comes from having embraced a truth that no law can deny. Elias takes his seat at the table where we first met, his goblet now empty, the wine long gone. He lifts his hand and the room seems to hold its breath. "Thomas," he says, his voice steady, "let us drink to a night that changed us." I raise my own cup, the amber liquid catching the firelight, and I toast, to the night, to the rain, and to the fire that burns within us. The tavern erupts in a low murmur, the clink of glasses, the crackle of the fire, the steady rhythm of rain against the shutters. Outside, the gallows still stands, a reminder of the town's harsh judgments, but inside, a new story begins, one of love, of defiance, of two men who dared to look beyond fear and found each other in the darkness. As the night deepens, I feel the weight of my badge settle into a new rhythm, one that beats not just for law, but for the heart that now beats beside mine. The scent of charred thyme lingers, but now it is mingled with the sweet perfume of lavender from the garden, a reminder that even in a town built on fear, there is room for something softer, something brighter. I glance at Elias, his eyes reflecting the fire's glow, and I know that whatever tomorrow brings, whether the town's judgment, the gallows' shadow, or the whisper of rebellion, we will face it together. The rain continues to fall, each drop a promise that the world can be washed clean, that the night can be reshaped, and that love, even in a place as unforgiving as Salem, can find a way to bloom. The night stretches on, the tavern's walls holding our laughter, our whispered vows, the promise of a future that is ours alone. And as the first light of dawn begins to bleed into the sky, I feel a certainty I have never known before, that the story we write together will be the one that outlives the gallows, outshines the fear, and becomes the legend whispered in the alleys of Salem for generations to come.